Whenever I watch Eva, I usually feel a little sick afterwards. A little more lonely. And even though it's the only anime I've seen, it's had a profound impact on the way I view the world. I'd even go as far to call it my favorite piece of philosophy, if not my favorite piece of art. But recent technological advances have caused me to see Eva in a whole new light. ChatGPT, AI, the coming fruition of Elon Musk's Neuralink now make the show seem more existential. And a show that already deals with the most destabilizing ideas regarding the ego, loneliness, and the value of human life. It's like the show now has a retcon subplot for telling humanity's future battle with technology as we force our own evolution. This video will explore the themes of Evangelion as technology calls into question what it means to be human.
I know I've let you down. I've been a fool to myself. I thought that I could live for no one else.
This video is only going to be dealing with the original series and the end of Evangelion, so I'm going to spoil the whole thing. There's your warning. Also, this video will definitely make you feel up, so maybe my mug can help keep you grounded.
Everything is simply a shape, a form, an identifier to let others recognize me as me.
Do I really have to explain Evangelion? Okay, look. Evangelion takes place in semi-post-apocalyptic Japan after the Second Impact.
Wait, what's the Second Impact?
There's an ancient ancestral race at the beginning of time that created the seeds of life, known as Adam and Lilith. Every planet in the solar system gets a seed of life. If a planet gets an Adam seed, then it is populated with giant beings known as angels, the main antagonist in the show. If a planet gets a Lilith seed, the seed of knowledge, then the planet is populated with humans. No planet could have two seeds. If a planet has two seeds, the beings on that planet would become as powerful as the first ancestral race, and no one wants that. Earth was given an Adam seed, but sometime long ago, the Lilith seed crashed into Earth, creating the first impact. And it's from here humanity is created. Now after that, humanity grows normal style. We got cities, we got people talking, we have English, we have the hit 80s band XTC, everything's normal. Until the year 2000, when they find Adam, the original angel from the Adam seed that Earth was supposed to have in the Antarctic. They send a little expedition to the Antarctic to do an experiment and, you know, check out Adam, see what Adam's all about. But bad news, humans got a little bit of Lilith in them. So when Lilith comes in contact with Adam in Antarctic, it creates the second impact, destroying half of Earth's population. Now we're back to where we started. Post-apocalyptic Japan, 15 years later, the year is 2015. The angels, the things that came from the Adam seed, the angels that start attacking Tokyo and Japan.
Okay. Why are they doing that though?
Because they want to reach Lilith. Lilith sits conveniently in a cave under Japan. The angels want to get to Lilith, destroy Lilith, triggering the third impact, which would wipe out all life on Earth except for the angels. But luckily, humanity prepared for this. With giant mechs known as Evangelions, and only teenagers can operate them. A classic Japanese gambit. So, Gendo Ikari, the director of the organization known as NERV, the organization that makes the Evangelions, calls up, ring ring, his estranged son, Shinji Ikari. It's here that episode 1 begins. Now, NERV is overseen by a shadow government known as Seele. And everyone thinks that NERV exists to just protect humanity from the angels, but Seele has other plans. Seele sees humanity as a failed project. The fact that our existence is accidental in the first place means we are fundamentally flawed. We aren't supposed to exist. In order to rectify this, Seele wants to purposely trigger the third impact while also fusing with Adam, the original angel. This will cause the ego borders and the boundaries between people to completely dissolve, and for us to all become one under one collective super consciousness, curing humanity. This combining of consciousness is referred to in the show as the Human Instrumentality Project. Now here's the thing. The angels aren't robots, they're organic creatures, created by NERV that use part of the original DNA from Adam. Why the humans that pilot them don't trigger the third impact because it's Lilith and Adam DNA touching? I don't know, it's never explained. The reason they use Adam is because the angels have a defense mechanism called the AT field, and no human weapon can penetrate an AT field, only other angels can. When Shinji Ikari, his estranged little boy, gets in the robot and he's piloting it, he's not pushing buttons and pulling levers the way a classic boy robot would. No, he's dissolving into the Eva and becoming one with it, synchronizing it. Their consciousnesses are fusing.
Why does that happen?
Because the Evas are imbued with the souls of the pilot's mothers. Come on, that's so obvious. You see, Shinji's mom, Gendo's wife, Yui Akari, did a contact experiment with an Evangelion while it was still being developed 10 years prior. With this, she accidentally fully dissolved into the Eva, becoming one with it. Because, you know, they're organic creatures, you can dissolve into them. The show establishes that. Unbeknownst to Gendo Akari and her little boy Shinji, she meant to do this the whole time, so she could live forever inside the Eva as proof of humanity's existence. Gendo, now heartbroken without his wife, wants to be able to see her again. And this is Gendo's motivation to pursue human instrumentality. Where Seele sees instrumentality as humanity's next evolution, Gendo just wants to be with his wife.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of confused, bro.
Look, I don't really give a f***. The show is famously hard to understand, and I'll get into the reasons why much later. The fans of this show have been theorizing about what actually happens for almost 30 years, and there's barely any consensus. All the lore I just explained exists in single sentences the characters say throughout the show, non-chronological order, and they're really easy to miss. Some of the show's plot is pieced together from trading cards and Sega Saturn games. Explaining the plot of Evangelion perfectly isn't my goal. I can link like 5 YouTube videos in the description that do that way better than I ever could. In this 1995 anime short 26-episode span, the characters fight in robots, eat ramen, and kiss each other. But that's not important. All that matters for understanding my video is this. The driving plot device of the show is the desire to cure suffering by dissolving the boundaries between people. Our egos, fears, and desires are what keep humans from understanding true connection and love. Best summed up in the 3rd episode, when 2 characters discuss Arthur Schopenhauer's Hedgehog's Dilemma.
Have you ever heard of the Hedgehog's Dilemma?
Hedgehogs? Those spiky critters?
Hedgehogs have a hard time sharing their warmth with other hedgehogs. Because the closer they get, the more they just end up hurting each other. It can be the same with people. Right now, I think some part of Shinji is afraid of that pain, and it makes him timid.
Well, I'm sure he'll figure it out in time.
There's obviously a lot more to the show's premise, like what AT fields actually are, and the creator's psychological breakdown. But I'll get into that later. Let's leave this fictional apocalypse behind for a moment and talk about the real apocalypse. But first, it's 2024 and everyone knows that most browsers are useless. It's over for them and they need to rope max. And what do? Holding your mirror, screaming at your face in the mirror, you say, what do I do? It's over. What if there was a browser that didn't harvest your soul? Let me tell you why I use Opera. Opera is more than just a browser. It's an integrated tech companion that augments your reality. Let me tell you what a day with Opera looks like. With my old browser, my tabs are all over the place. I didn't know what I was doing. With Opera, all my tabs are neatly organized in the tab islands. I can organize them by subject when I'm doing my research. Look, here's all my Wikipedia articles for my research, and here's chess.com when I need a break for my 14-hour intense academic research sessions. I can also use their in-browser AI, Aria, when Wikipedia just isn't gonna cut it. Not only can Aria answer questions, but it can also summarize entire blocks of text. Sometimes I'm sick of reading theory about the collapse of the West, and I just want it summarized. And I don't even have to have a separate tab for my social media, because there's a sidebar with all my socials there. I got Instagram. I am accessible 24/7. You message me, I'm gonna answer it. I love being accessible 24/7. That's awesome. And on top of this, the most important feature to me as a true Sigma hustler is the ad blocker on YouTube. This has optimized my content consumption. And this is just how I use Opera. I haven't even mentioned that you can have ChatGPT on the sidebar handy at all times, or they have a built-in browser VPN to hide you, to keep you hidden. Sign up for Opera using the link below and find out how you can work more 14-hour days. The technological singularity is a hypothetical point in the future when technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible, resulting primarily from the emergence of super-intelligent AI that surpasses human intelligence. This concept is often associated with the idea that such an AI would be capable of self-improvement, leading to an intelligent explosion where its capabilities could rapidly advance beyond human comprehension. For example, an AI might design a more advanced version of itself, or develop new technologies that it alone understands. As a consequence, traditional models of predicting future technological outcomes become obsolete, making the post-singularity world unpredictable for humans. I got ChatGPT to write that for me. I couldn't have said it better myself. Are you doing your part to bring about Rocco's Basilisk? I sure am. Please remember to thank ChatGPT today. The AI, or technological singularity, is something that fans of the Joe Rogan cinematic universe will be extremely familiar with. But I don't think people fully grasp that this isn't science fiction. This will happen. The only thing that would prevent this from happening would be an apocalyptic event that pauses all human progress. As long as technology is advancing, we are well on our way to the singularity. How do we rectify this? Humans can't compete with technology, So we have two options. One, universal basic income paradise, where we all dance in the streets and make art, and all the robots do all the bad work that we don't want to do that's been bogging us down since the agricultural revolution. Come on, man. That's not gonna happen. Two, we slowly merge and get closer and closer with technology in order to supplement and potentiate human intelligence as we move to our next stage of evolution. There's also like the existential death option where we have no reason to live and we kind of get like wiped off the face of the earth, but that's pussy shit. You never catch me on that gay shit. Let's focus on the second option because that's the option that's actually being worked on. Transhumanist technology is technology that aims to move us past our human limitations. But it never starts out that way. It usually starts out to solve some sort of medical problem. A man loses his arm in a car crash and becomes the subject of an experiment to make a robot arm. Firstly, to replace the arm he lost, but secondly, to see what we can do without the borders of the flesh and mind. Such is the case with Elon Musk's Neuralink. In January 2024, the first Neuralink chip was transplanted into a human brain. The chip works as a computer-brain interface that records the activity of your neurons. And for the quadriplegic man that received the first Neuralink chip, this allowed him to play chess, use his computer, and even play Civilization 6. All with just his thoughts. This, of course, isn't the end goal of Neuralink. This is just the premise for its creation. The end goal is something much more existential. Although the singularity has always been imagined as the point where technology surpasses human intelligence, the advent of Neuralink and other communication technologies pose a reimagining of what the singularity could look like. A singularity that includes humans rather than moving them out of the picture. With Neuralink, among other communication technologies, we are seeing the blurring of this boundary between the realm of man and the realm of information, integrating both into something greater than its parts.
And in my opinion, it's not just us versus AI. People say, well, how are we going to compete with AI? The intelligence that we're creating is adding AI to our own brains, just the way our phones and computers do already. This is not an alien invasion of intelligent machines coming from Mars. I mean, how many people here have come to this meeting without your phone? It's already part of our intelligence. It ultimately will be automatically added to our intelligence, and it already is.
That's Ray Kurzweil, author of The Singularity is Near. I like what he says here because this is different from how most people view AI. This isn't some abstract technology that is fundamentally different than humanity. The closer we get to our phones, borderless communication, and AI, the more we are merging with each other and the sum total of the human experience thus far. Look, I'm getting off topic. All I'm saying is that we are beginning to actualize this idea of a merge, destroying the border between people and getting closer to a collective understanding of everything, a collective consciousness. The parallels between AI, Neuralink, and human instrumentality in Evangelion are obvious. It's basically analogous to the goal of Seele and Nerve. There's even an entire episode where two characters, Shinji and Asuka, have to put their differences aside and synchronize their movements to defeat an angel, literally destroying their ego to operate as one unit together. Technology calls into question what it means to be human. And if the singularity is bringing us to a post-human world, what are we losing in the process? What is it that makes us human? With that, let's talk about the show's creator, Hideki Anno.
自分の持ってる想像力とか自分のイメージとかそういうのをスタートにちょっとやってみたいと。
After finishing his work directing the hit anime series Nadia, Hideki Anno found himself purposeless and deeply depressed. In his depressed state, he began writing a more introspective anime, something that would be intentionally hard to market and more cult. Thanks to his producer Toshimichi Atsuki, who promised to greenlight any of Anno's original ideas, Evangelion was born. Eva has a bit of a bait and switch tactic. As I mentioned, there's teenage romance, girls, giant robots, all the classic anime tropes, enough to rope a huge young audience in to an invigorating coming-of-age story. But that doesn't last for long. In the second half of the show's run, it becomes much more introspective. I thought the best way for me to get my original project through would be to make a robot, space, or beautiful young girl one. Because I thought these categories would have the best product value. It's easy for sponsors to pay for it. Anno didn't really know how the show would end once it began airing. In the original proposition for the show, all he has written down is that the plot comes together. As Anno wrote the show, he got into Freudian and Jungian psychology, and the tone of the show began to shift. I guess the theme would be what I'm thinking about at the moment. Thinking about the complexes that anime fans, including myself, have. What makes us happy? How can I be happy? I guess that's about it. Hence, Eva pivots to being purely about the abstract, with episodes like episode 20, where the main character, Shinji, completely dissolves into an Eva, and the entire episode takes place inside his head, where he battles with parts of his ego. And in the latter part of the show, it cuts off entire plot points entirely. There's this cute little romance in the show between Shinji's friend and the class rep from the school they go to. The show slowly builds up this little character arc in the background, and it's kind of sweet. They buy each other lunch, you know, they do nice things, and then Tokyo gets destroyed, and they just never mention it again. They never bring it up. It's as if Anno is saying, F you. That's not what life is about. Stop hiding in fictional narratives and face reality. Speaking of which, hey guys, mid-editing, overworked art chat here. At this point, whether you've seen the anime or not, you understand that it's really f***ed up. It's a f***ed up show. It's about the meaning of life. All the characters are deeply flawed and unlikable. The creator made the show in the midst of a suicidal depression. The show is famous for making its viewers depressed after they watch it. It's like a meme of the show is that you shouldn't watch it while you're down in the dumps because it's gonna make you a little bit more sad than you should be. So tell me why it is the most commercialized anime of all time. Like, look at this shit. Bowling pins, toothbrush, fishing hook, razors, sexy little statues. You can hot glue them. See this character? See this? This is a 14-year-old clone of Shinji's mom. What baffles me is that people could watch a show made with the sole intention to break anime conventions in order to mind you and still be able to retreat into their mind fortress of narratives, consumerism, and sexy cartoon girl. I once watched Ava in a large group of people. There was like 15 of us. And we'd watch, 4 episodes, 5 episodes, and we discussed the episodes after. And there was half of us that were like, wow, this show is so like introspective and blah, 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 blah. And the other half would just like talk about the teenage romance. They'd be like, ooh, what characters do you think are gonna date? What characters do you think are gonna f each other? The show was attempting to posit what defines being human. You thinking about teenagers kissing? I got really angry while I was editing this, and I really felt like I needed to add this part. So, back to the video. The show was always about reality, flaws, suffering, as a reflection of Anno's personal struggles, and a broader expression of one of philosophy's central questions. Why go on living? This question is answered in the show's final 2 episodes, aired originally on TV in 1995 and then reimagined into a movie in 1997. By the end of the show's run, the budget began to bleed dry, and the last 2 episodes are very minimalist philosophical explorations of the characters inside their own heads, coupled with still marker drawings. In the plot of these episodes, although it's not obvious at all, the show's plot comes to fruition, and these episodes represent human instrumentality. The boundaries between people are destroyed, allowing a super collective consciousness to form. It's also revealed that AT fields, the things that the angels use to protect themselves, are what keep humanity separate. AT stands for absolute terror, as a representation of the human ego. And without the ego, we no longer feel separate from each other. 2 years later, after outcry and death threats from fans, Anno recreated the ending with a much higher budget, resulting in one of the most beautiful pieces of animation of all time. And in the show's final moments, Shinji is given a choice, whether he wants to keep humanity in instrumentality or whether he wants to separate again. Does he want to fully destroy himself in order to never feel lonely? Or does he want to live as a sovereign individual, knowing that suffering and loneliness is what makes him human? This is the same question Anno asked himself, perhaps as a parable to suicide, or perhaps as something more abstract. Is suffering something to rectify? Or is it literally what makes humans humans? The perennial philosophy is the idea that all religions have one central goal. And although the way that goal manifests may vary drastically between religions, it doesn't change the fact that there is a through line between all spiritual beliefs. That goal being unity with God. Call it heaven, gnosis, nirvana, liberation, enlightenment. All religions point to an absolute truth, an objective grasp of oneness, and a disillusion with ego for the purpose of unity with God. Religion has always asked what separates man from spirit. What are we? And where are we trying to go? Asking that question is nothing new. We've been asking that question since the beginning of society. What is new is the possibility of an answer through technology. Evangelion asks you what it means to be human. And are we not asking ourselves the same question with the advent of the singularity? As we close the gap between us and technology, as we get closer and closer to seamless communication, what happens when the gap closes? When we inevitably reach the AI singularity? Technology calls into question what it means to be human. And being human is fundamentally lonely. You can watch this video. You can watch all of my videos. You can talk with me. You can spend every day with me. But you'll never know who I am, and I'll never know who you are. We'll never understand each other the way we understand ourselves. Such is the human experience. Hideki Anno was a man in the midst of an existential crisis. The same existential crises we all go through. And he created Evangelion to ask his audience and himself if life is worth living. And in the end, he finds his answer. Shinji chooses to leave instrumentality, to experience humanity in all its flaws, knowing he'll be lonely, knowing he'll hurt others, and knowing he'll hurt himself, but also knowing that this pain is what defines being human. And we are now faced with the same decision, whether to get closer to tech, closer to a collective consciousness, and destroy what makes us human in the process, or to pull away and live a life full of suffering, knowing that within all this pain is growth, love, creativity, and humanity. This isn't a yes or no choice we will be offered. This is a choice we make every day. Which one will you make?
I am retarded.